Now I've got a lot of flies on my to-do list, so let me just tell you how I come up with the list. Stick around. Hello everybody, welcome to Savage Flies. I'm Matt, thanks for stopping by. So how do I come up with the flies that I put on my to-do list that I tie for this channel? Well, I get a lot of them from you guys. You send me ideas or requests, and then if it looks like a good pattern that I think I could tie, I'll add it to the list. And then other sources, I just flip through books, get ideas. I've got maybe 100, close to 200 books, I don't know. But sometimes I will just grab one of my old issues of Fly Tyer magazine, like this one right here, winter of 2017. I was looking through this one the other day and I found a really cool pattern in here created by Frank Leto of Haverford, Pennsylvania. This one's called Frank's Fire Scud. Now Frank was just one of the readers of this that sent his fly in, and I thought it was a really cool pattern. I said, let's tie it for the channel. So if you're familiar with Fly Tyer magazine, you know they have a big section of reader submitted flies, and that's what Frank's was. He says this pattern has worked for him for brook, rainbow, and brown trout year-round. So if any of you other tailwater fishermen out there, you know that the water coming out of the dam often has scuds in it. And certainly if it's water that's got any leafy green vegetation in it, that's just the kind of environment that scuds live in. So it's a really cool pattern, not at all hard to tie. So let's give a little hat tip to Frank Leto of Haverford, Pennsylvania, and tie Frank's Fire Scud. So there it is in the vise, Frank's Fire Scud. And if it looks like an easy pattern, well, it's because it is pretty easy, but it's also pretty fun. Now I'm tying this on a size 14 curve shank scud hook, and I've got a silver bead here. This is a 7/64, 2.8 millimeter, and I'm gonna go with the silver right there. Now the pattern did not say to put any weight, but since I'm not using a tungsten bead, I'm going to put about 4 wraps. Maybe let's go 5 right there, just to help hold that bead in place and help it, give it just a little bit more weight. So let's get that in there, jam that up into the bead. So what thread am I going to be using? 70 denier in a red. Now Frank also said to use tan thread, but he also put a red hot spot with floss up front. So I'm going to skip that step and use red thread, and I'll use that for my hot spot. And the one I just tied, you couldn't see the red thread through this dubbing, so I don't think it's that big a deal. So let's take this around, well around the bend of the hook. I mean, we use a scud hook for a reason, so that we can get a nice big curved shank body. Now the next component, just some body stretch. This right here, 1/4 inch wide, and this is a tan. If you have clear, use clear, but this tan is clear enough, and we don't need it 1/4 inch wide. So what I've done, I've cut those pieces in half, kind of long ways, and I've cut a little V on the end, just makes it a little bit easier to tie it in right here. And you want it on top, but before we get too far along, we will fold it up over. Just, make sure you're coming off the top like you want. And is that going to be far enough back? Well, fold it over and you say, okay, that's going to be how long my body is. I might want the body just a little bit longer than that. So let's take a few more wraps, maybe 3 wraps right here. Let's go 3. Okay. And now if you cut that into a little V, you don't have to trim any right there, you just bury the rest of it. So the next thing we're going to tie on is a rib. So just grab a small piece of 5 or 6X tippet right here. I think this is nylon tippet. I'm not going to waste my good monofilament on this. And I really don't think you'd want to, because this nylon monofilament is going to have a little bit of stretch to it. Whereas fluorocarbon is not really going to have any stretch. So I think the nylon is the good choice to use right here anyway. Okay, so we've got our body stretch in and our monofilament rib. Just take our thread right back, almost to the back, and let's put some wax on it. And this next component this is what makes it pretty cool. So a rainbow sow scud dubbing, this right here. If you just have some regular sow scud, just mix it all up until you make your own rainbow. But this pack comes already mixed. So it's this stuff right here. And it's really pretty cool material to work with. So I'm going to dub on, not a real thick noodle. It's probably going to take me 2 applications for this size 14. But I'll put a fairly tight noodle on it first, maybe 3 inches long, and I think that will get me up there to right behind the weighted wraps. Now I'm not really worrying about a taper, but I do kind of want it a little bit thicker in the middle. Okay, that's getting a little bit messy on me, but we'll fix that. We'll just put another thin little noodle on here and then go back over some of that. Okay, I think that is fine right there. It's a little bit thicker in the middle. It's kind of what I want. But notice I didn't take my thread all the way back up to the bead. I left it a millimeter or so back because we do have a hot spot up here. So just pull this over, try to get it right on top. And we'll do a couple of loose wraps and then adjust it if we need to. Okay, so there's some loose wraps, and make sure it's coming off the top like we want. Okay, I think we're fine right there, so I'm going to put a tighter wrap on it. Now, holding that in with 3 wraps, and this is stretchy, so I'm going to just pull it taut a little bit, reach in here and cut it. Now it should bounce right back. We'll throw another tight wrap right there, and I think that's going to be fine. Now, let's wrap this rib, and counter wrap it if you want, or wrap it normal way. I don't think it really matters. And on this size 14, I think 4 or 5 wraps are going to work. It's just going to hold this body stretch in place, and pull it tight to give you a little bit of segmentation if you want. Okay, now when you get it up front, let's put a couple of wraps right here. And this stuff, it doesn't stay in place, this monofilament rib, like a wire would. So I'll put a wrap in front of it and then maybe 2 more wraps behind it before I cut it off. Because you don't want it to come out on you. If you do, you probably have to start over, because there's not really any way you could go back and add a rib to it after you're already up front. So let's cut this off kind of short, but don't worry if you don't get it all the way. That will be fine, because then you just have a little bit more to bind right here. Okay, so I'm going to just try to pull that back a little bit and then build this up. We want a fairly thick little hot spot right here. Okay, now here's a trick. I'm not going to put head cement on this one. I probably could. It wouldn't mess up the fly too much, but I think this one is going to be a little bit easier and probably be just a little bit more secure with this super glue. So I'll take a dab of super glue and touch it to my thread within the first ½ inch or so until I get just a couple of little beads on here. So you see that? Now I can put about 3 more wraps on right here, and then those beads will sink in. Okay, now I think we've got plenty of room here for our whip finish. I'll just pull my thread tight right here and slide my scissors up in there and just kind of saw that off. Now we'll take a look at it, see if we got any cleanup. I do have a few long fibers right here. If you can either pluck them out, if they don't pluck, just go ahead and trim them. But you do want a little bit of fuzz coming off the bottom. That's kind of how, a scud looks. You've got the smooth, shiny back, and then some, I guess, legs and whatnot coming off the bottom and the sides. So that's it. Really a simple pattern, but I know this thing's going to be a fish catcher. So Frank's Fire Scud. Hope you give it a shot. Pretty fun tie. So that's it, everybody. Y'all take care. We'll see you next time.